Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदानेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नारायणं नमस्कृत्य प्रोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरे। बोलो श्री राधे गोलोकानंद भगवान की
जय।
श्रीमद् भागवतम की
जय।
हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna everyone.
Hare Krishna everyone.
Hare Krishna.
राजे हरे कृष्णा। राजे हरे कृष्णा निशा।
Hare Krishna.
राइट सो कल हम लोग अध्याय 16 से शुरू करें, 6th स्कंद का, राइट, एंड वी वर एट श्लोक 18। और इस अध्याय में हम लोग पढ़ रहे हैं महाराज चित्रकेतु के बारे में। एंड एज वी नो चित्रकेतु वाज अ ग्रेट किंग, ही हैड सो मेनी क्वींस, डिडंट हैव अ सन। देन Angira Muni, yeah, who is none other than son of Lord Brahma himself in the Saptarishis, Brahma Rishis. And then he gave him a boon to have a son, but he said he will be very happy and also very unhappy. Right? So he was very happy when he had a son. Then he lost him. And then he was lamenting a lot. That's when Narad Muni and Angira Muni came to console Maharaj Citraketu. And now Narad Muni is giving him this mantra to meditate on Lord Vishnu. That's what we are reading right now. So let's continue reading. Anilji.
जी हाँ। ओम नमस्तभ्यं भगवते वासुदेवाय धीमहि प्रद्युम्नाय निरुद्धाय नमः संकर्षणाय च नमो विज्ञान मात्राय परमानंद मूर्तये आत्मा रामाय शांताय विभ्रत द्वैत दृष्टये। Narada gave Citraketu the following mantra: O Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, who are the addresses addressed by the Omkar Pranab, offer my respectful obeisances unto you. O Lord Vasudev, I meditate upon you. O Lord Pradyumna, Lord Aniruddha, and Lord Sankarshana, I offer you my respectful obeisances. O reservoir of spiritual potency, O supreme bliss, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are self-sufficient and most peaceful. O ultimate truth, one without a second, you are realized as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, and are therefore the reservoir of all knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Narad Muni gives that mantra. Yeah. Paramananda Murtaye, Vijnanam Gyan Matraye. Right. And then as we know from Lord Vishnu, we have Lord Vasudev, Pradyuman, Aniruddha, and Lord Sankarshan. And so that's the mantra which Narad Muni gives to Maharaj Citraketu. And very nice purport. So let's read this. Rinaji.
In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he is Pranavah Sarva Vedeshu, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. In transcendental knowledge, the Lord is addressed as Pranav Omkar, which is a symbolic representation of the Lord in sound. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudeva, who is an expansion of Narayan, expands expands himself as Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshana. From Sankarshana comes a second Narayan expansion, and from this Narayan comes further expansion of Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Sankarshan, and Aniruddha. The Sankarshan in this group is the original cause of the three Purushas, namely Karnodakshay Vishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and Kshirodakshay Vishnu. Kshirodakshay Vishnu is situated in every universe in a special planet called Dvipa. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Andantarastha. The word Anda means this universe. Within this universe is a planet called Shvetadvip, where Kshirodakshay Vishnu is situated. From him come all the incarnations within this universe. As confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, all these forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are Advait, not different, and they are also acute, infallible. They do not fall down like the conditioned souls. The ordinary living entity is prone to falling into the clutches of Maya, but the Supreme Lord in his different incarnations and forms is acute, infallible. Therefore, his body is different from the material body possessed by the conditioned soul. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. So if you remember, we have read about Karnodakshay Vishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and Kshirodakshay Vishnu. Yeah. Remember, so there is a Sankarshan, yeah, from where you have all these expansions, right? And then also from Narayan, right? There is a further expansion of Vasudeva, Pradyuman, Sankarshan, and Aniruddha. Okay. And we also know that you have the Karnodakshay Vishnu first, then Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and then Kshirodakshay Vishnu. And Kshirodakshay Vishnu is the one which is situated in every universe. Yeah. There are, as we have read, there are innumerable number of universes. Yeah. Ours is just one of the small universes. But in every universe, there is Kshirodakshay Vishnu, which comes from Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Yeah. And from Garbhodakshay Vishnu, only from the Nabi of Garbhodakshay Vishnu comes Lord Brahma as well. Yeah. So you get Lord Brahma and then Kshirodakshay Vishnu. Also comes from Garbhodakshay Vishnu. So it's situated in every universe called Svetadip. And then from Kshirodakshay Vishnu comes all the incarnations within this universe, like all the incarnations of Lord Vishnu. Yeah. So that's what is explained here. Let's continue reading. Ajay.
The word mantra is explained in the Medin dictionary.
Went on mute.
I'm sorry. The word mantra is explained in the Medini dictionary as follows. Mantra karna vibhusayam vite mane parichade. The word mantra is in its different imports is used to indicate the decoration of the ear, possession, respect, and the possession of a covering, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.14. Matra sparshas tu kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukha daha agama payino nityadas tatma titikshara bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharat, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. In the conditioned state of life, the body is used as our dress. As one needs different dresses during the summer and winter, we conditioned souls are changing bodies according to our desires. However, because the body of the Supreme Lord is full of knowledge, it needs no covering. The idea that Krishna's body is like ours, in other words, that his body and soul are different, is a misunderstanding. There are no such differences for Krishna because his body is full of knowledge. Here we receive material bodies because of lack of knowledge, but because Krishna was there is full of knowledge, there is no difference between his body and his soul. Krishna remembers what he said 40 million years ago to the sun god, but an ordinary being cannot remember what he said the day before yesterday. This is the difference between Krishna's body and our body. Therefore, the Lord is addressed as Vijan Matra Paramananda Matreya.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Nisha?
Because the Lord's body in full knowledge, he always enjoys transcendental bliss. Indeed, his very form is Paramananda. This is confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra, Anandamayo Bhyasata. By nature, the Lord is Anandamaya. Whenever we keep Krishna, he is always full of Anand in all circumstances. No one can make him morose. Atmaramaya, he does not need to search for external enjoyment because he is self-sufficient. Santaya, he has no anxiety. One who has to seek pleasure from other sources is always full of anxiety. Karmis, Jnanis and Yogis are full of anxiety because they want something, but a devotee does not want anything. He is simply satisfied in the service of the Lord, who is fully blissful. Nivratta Dvaita Drashyate is in our conditioned life, our bodies have different parts, but although Krishna apparently has different bodily parts, no part of his body is different from any other part. Krishna can see with his eyes and Krishna can see without his eyes. Therefore, in the Svetaswara Upanishad, it is said, Pasyate Achaksuha. He can see with his hands and his legs. He does not need a particular bodily part to perform a particular action. Angani Yasya Sakelendriya Vrittimanti. He can do anything he desires with any part of his body, and therefore he is called Almighty. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah? So Krishna is absolute, right? Is what is being described here. Hare Krishna, Tarun.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Atmanandanubhutaveva nasyate sakti urmaye namaha. Rishikeshaya mahate namaste nante murtaye. Pursuing your personal bliss, you are always transcendental to the waves of material nature. Therefore, my Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. You are the supreme controller of the senses, and your expansions of form are unlimited. You are the greatest, and therefore I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so as we know, this mantra is being given by Narad Muni to whom?
Citraketu.
Citraketu, yeah? King Citraketu, Maharaj Citraketu. So that's what he's telling. And he's saying, of course, Rishikeshaya, he's describing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who is the Rishikeshaya means he is the supreme controller of the senses. That's why it's called Rishikesh. And he's, of course, Anantamurtaye, right? His expansion of forms are unlimited, Anant, and offering his respectful obeisances. And again, a nice purport. So let's read this, Anilji.
Yeah. This verse analytically differentiates the living entity from the Supreme Lord. The form of the Lord and the form of the conditional soul are different because the Lord is always blissful, whereas the conditional soul is always under the threefold miseries of the material world. The Supreme Lord is Satchidananda Vigraha. He derives Ananda, bliss, from his own self. The Lord's body is transcendental, spiritual, but because the conditioned soul has a material body, he has many bodily and mental troubles. The conditioned soul is always perturbed by attachment and detachment, whereas the Supreme Lord is always free from such dualities. The Lord is the supreme master of all the senses, whereas the conditioned soul is controlled by the senses. The Lord is the greatest, whereas the living entity is the smallest. The living entity is conditioned by the waves of material nature, but the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all actions and reactions. The expansions of the Supreme Lord's body are innumerable. Advaitam, Achitam, Anandim, Anantarupam, but the conditioned soul is limited to only one form. From history, we learn that a conditioned soul, by mystic power, can sometimes expand into 8 forms, but the Lord's bodily expansions are unlimited. This means that the bodies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead have no beginning and no end, unlike the bodies of the living entities. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah? So how it's described the Lord's form and the form of a normal human being, like as a conditional soul. Ajay?
वचस्सु परते अप्राप्य य एको मनसा सह अनाम रूपश्चिन्मात्रः सो अन्वान्यः सदसत्परः. The word and mind of the conditioned soul cannot approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for material names and forms are not applicable to the Lord, who is entirely spiritual beyond the conception of gross and subtle forms. The impersonal Brahman is another of his forms. May he, by his pleasure, protect us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, this is the prayer to Lord Vasudeva by Maharaj Citraketu. Oh. Rinaji?
यस्मिन् नित्यं यतश्चेदं तिष्ठत्यप्येति जायते ब्रह्मये शिवे मृज्जातिस्तस्मै ते ब्रह्मणे नमः. As parts made completely of earth are situated on earth after being created and are transformed into earth again when broken, this cosmic manifestation is caused by the Supreme Brahman, situated in the Supreme Brahman and annihilated in the same Supreme Brahman. Therefore, since the Supreme Lord is the cause of Brahman, let us offer him our respectful obeisances. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, the Supreme Lord is cause of everything. He is the cause of Brahma. And that's how the cosmic manifestation is caused by the Supreme Brahma. So, offer the respectful obeisances. That's how they are praying. Yeah, it says the Supreme Lord is the cause of the cosmic manifestation. He maintains it after creation and after annihilation. The Lord is the reservoir of everything. Yeah. Nisha?
यन्न स्पृशन्ति न विदुर्मनो बुद्धिरिन्द्रियास्वः अन्तर्बहिश्च विततं व्योम्यवत्तनतो असम्यः. The Supreme Brahman emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and expands like the sky. Although untouched by anything material, it exists within and without. Nonetheless, the mind, intelligence, senses, and living force can neither touch him or know him. I offer unto him my respectful obeisances. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Guru?
Dehendriya prana mano dhiyo mi yad amsa viddaha prakaranti karmasu nevenya yada loham iva pratatam nesu tad drashta pradesham iti. As iron has the power to burn when made red hot in the association of fire, so the body senses living force, mind, and intelligence. Although merely lumps of matter can function in their activities when infused with a particle of consciousness by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As iron cannot burn unless heated by fire, the bodily senses cannot act unless favored by the Supreme Brahman. Hare Krishna.
Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Mahapurushaye Mahanubhavaya Mahavibhuti Patiye Sakal Satvat Parivridanikar Kar Kamal Kundam Kundamalopala Chital Charanara Vindayugal Param Parameshti Namaste. So, O Transcendental Lord, who are situated in the topmost planet of the spiritual world, your two lotus feet are always massaged by a multitude of the best devotees with their lotus bud hands. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, complete in 6 opulences. You are the Supreme Person mentioned in the Purush Shukta prayers. You are the most perfect, self-realized master of all mystic power. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Yeah. Anilji?
Shri Shuka Uvacha Bhaktayetam Prapannaye Vidyamadishya Naradaha Yaya Bangirasa Sakam Dham Swayambhuvam Prabho. Sri Sukadeva Goswami continued, Narad, having become the spiritual master of Citraketu, instructed him fully in this prayer because Citraketu was fully surrendered. O King Parikshit, Narad then left with the great sage Angira for the topmost planet known as Brahmalok. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. As we know, the Brahmalok is where Lord Brahmaji resides, yeah. Shambhu, Shambhuvam Prabhu. Shambhuvam is referred to Lord Brahma. So after giving the transcendental message to Citraketu, King Citraketu, Narad Muni and Angira Muni goes back to Brahmalok. Nice purport. Let's read this part. Ajay?
As soon as Citraketu understood the philosophy of Vairagya Vidya, the knowledge of renunciation, he could understand the process of Bhakti Yoga. In this regard, Srila Shravabhama Bhattacharya has said, Vairagya Vidya Nij Bhakti Yoga, Vairagya Vidya and Bhakti Yoga are parallel lines. One is essential for understanding the other. It is also said, Bhakti Pareshanubhavo Viraktir Anyatra Cha. Bhagavad 11.2.42. Advancement in devotional service or Krishna consciousness is characterized by increasing renunciation of material enjoyment. Narad Muni is the father of devotional service and therefore, just to bestow causeless mercy upon King Citraketu, Angira brought Narad Muni to instruct the king. These instructions were extremely effective. Anyone who follows in the footsteps of Narad Muni is certainly a pure devotee. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Citraketustu tam vidyam yatha narada bhashitam dharyamas saptahamabhaksha susamahita. Fasting and drinking only water, Citraketu for 1 week continuously chanted with great care and attention the mantra given by Narad Muni. Hare Krishna.
Fasting and drinking only water, Maharaj Citraketu for 1 week chanted, and then he led the prayers which were given to him by Narad Muni. right? And as we have also seen, like before doing the Ram Lalla Pran Pratishtha, Modi ji was fasting for 11 days, just drinking coconut water twice a day. So getting ready to do the Pran Pratishtha. Nisha?
ततः स सप्तरात्रान्ते विद्यया धार्यमाणया विद्याधराधिपत्यं च लेभे प्रतिहतं नृप. O King Parikshit, after only 1 week of repeatedly practicing the mantra received from the spiritual master, Citraketu achieved the rule of the planet of Vidyadharas as an intermediate product of his spiritual advancement in knowledge. Hare Krishna.
तथा कतिपयोपयहुभिर् विद्या यथा मनोगति जगमादेव देवस्य शेषस्य करणान्तिकम्. Thereafter, within a very few days, by the influence of the mantra that Citraketu had practiced, his mind became increasingly enlightened in spiritual progress, and he attained shelter at the lotus feet of Anantadeva. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so Maharaj Citraketu increasingly by Bhakti Yoga got enlightened and he attained shelter at the lotus feet of Anant Devya. Sesasya Charana Antika. Yeah. Then a nice purport. And see this. Anilji?
A karmi's material opulence and a devotee's material opulence are not on the same level. Srila Madhavacharya comments in this way. Anyantaryan minnah Vishnum upasanaya samipagha bhaved yogyataya tasya padam va prapanyun naraha. By worshipping Lord Vishnu, one can get whatever he desires, but a pure devotee never asks Lord Vishnu for any material profit. Instead, he serves Lord Vishnu without material desires and is therefore ultimately transferred to the spiritual kingdom. In this regard, Srila Biragabha Acharya comments, Yathesht Gatir iti arthaha. By worshipping Vishnu, a devotee can get whatever he likes. Maharaja Citraketu wanted only to return home back to Godhead, and therefore he achieved success in that way. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Mrinal Goram Shritivas Samshfurat Kirit Keyur Katitra Kankanam Prasanna Vaktra Arunalochinam Vitam Tadarsha Siddheshwar Mandaleha Prabhum. Upon reaching the shelter of Lord Sesh, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Citraketu saw that he was as white as the white fibers of a lotus flower. He was dressed in bluish garments and adorned with a brilliantly glittering helmet, armlets, belt, and bangles. His face was smiling and his eyes were reddish. He was surrounded by such exalted, liberated persons as Sanat Kumar. Right? So Maharaj Citraketu, when he gets to the Vaikuntha Lok, yeah, he's describing like how the Lord Sesh was dressed like Mrinal Goram is what saying is as white as the white fibers of a lotus flower, right? Sfurat. And then Shiti Vasasam is the dressed in bluish garments and brilliantly glittering helmets, armlets, belts, and bangles. Yeah, says Sfurat Kirit Keyur Katitra Kankanam. That's helmets, armlets, belt, and bangles. And Prasanna Vaktra and Aruna Lochanam. That is, face was smiling and eyes were reddish and surrounded by liberated persons and the devotees like Sanat Kumars is how he's describing Lord Narayan. Yeah. Ajay?
तदर्शन ध्वस्त समस्त किलिबिषः स्वस्थामलांत करुणो अभ्यान मुनि प्रवृद्ध भक्त्या प्रणयाश्रुलोचनः प्रहष्टिरोमा Namadadipurusham. As soon as Maharaja Citraketu saw the Supreme Lord, he was cleansed of all material contamination and situated in his original Krishna consciousness, being completely purified. He became silent and grave, and because of love for the Lord, tears fell from his eyes, and his hair stood on end. With great devotion and love, he offered his respectful obeisances unto the original personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And who is he who offered the obeisances? Whom are we talking about?
Maharaja Citraketu.
Maharaj Citraketu, right?
Yeah.
So he went to the spiritual planet and he's offering his obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Read this, Rinaji.
Darshana, Dvasta Sanstha, Kilbisha is very important in this verse. If one regularly sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the temple, one will gradually be disinfected of all material desires simply by visiting the temple and seeing the deity. When one is freed from all the results of sinful activities, one will be purified and with a healthy mind completely cleansed, he will increasingly make progress in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so what is being mentioned here is like for conditioned souls, right? How do we advance in Krishna consciousness? And then also, like, how do we do the darshan of Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So that's where the form of Arch Vigraha, that is the deities in the temple, right? As we saw, like you do Pran Pratishtha for the deities. And that's how you can do the darshan in the temples, right? And as we continue doing that, one will gradually be disinfected of all material desires simply by visiting the temple and seeing the deity, is what is being mentioned, right? This is how one can get purified and with a healthy mind, completely cleansed, increasingly make progress in Krishna consciousness. Nisha?
स उत्तमश्लोकपदाब्जविष्टरं प्रेमाश्रुलेशैरुमेहन्मुहुः प्रेमोपरुद्धाखिलवर्णनिर्गमो नैवाशकतं प्रसिम्मिडितुं चिरम्. With tears of love and affection, Citraketu repeatedly moistened the resting place of the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. Because his voice was choked in ecstasy for a considerable time, he was unable to utter any of the letters of the alphabet to offer the Lord suitable prayers. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu?
तथा समाधाय मनो मनीषया माश एक तत्प्रतिलंब वागसो नियम्य नियज्ञ सर्वद्रिय ब्रह्मवर्तन्य जगद्गुरुम सात्वशास्त्र विग्रहम. Thereafter, by controlling his mind with his intelligence and thus restricting his senses from external engagements, he recovered suitable words with which to express his feelings. Thus he began offering prayers to the Lord, who is the personification of the Holy Scriptures. The Satvata Samhitas, like the Brahmana Samhita and the Narada Pancharatra, and who is the spiritual master of all. He offered his prayers as follows. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Then Maharaj Citraketu again he starts offering his prayers, yeah, to Lord Narayan. Anilji?
Citraketurvacha Ajit jita samam tivi sadhu virvana jitatma virvata vajitaste picha bhajata makam atmanam ya atmadoti karuna. Citraketu said, O unconquerable Lord, although you cannot be conquered by anyone, you are certainly conquered by devotees who have control of the mind and senses. They can keep you under their control because you are causelessly merciful to devotees who desire no material profit from you. Indeed, you give yourself to them, and because of this, you also have full control over your devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so Citraketu is praying to the Lord and saying, Lord cannot be conquered by anyone, but he can be by the devotees who have control of mind and senses, yeah, and they are doing devotion without any desires, is what is being mentioned. Ajit jita sammati bhi sadhu bhir bhavan jitatma bhi bharvita. So he's, yeah, he's won by the devotees, is what is being mentioned here. And this is a nice purport. So let's read this. Okay. Ajay?
The Lord and the devotees both conquer. The Lord is conquered by the devotees and the devotees are conquered by the Lord. Because of being conquered by one another, they both derive transcendental bliss from their relationship. The highest perfection of this mutual conquering is exhibited by Krishna and the gopis. The gopis conquered Krishna and Krishna conquered the gopis. Thus, whenever Krishna played his flute, he conquered the minds of gopis, and without seeing the gopis, Krishna could not be happy. Our transcendentalists, such as Gyanis and Yogis, cannot conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only pure devotees can conquer him. Pure devotees are described as sammati, which means that they never deviate from devotional service under any circumstances. It is not that devotees worship the Supreme Lord only when happy. They worship him even when in distress. Happiness and distress do not hamper the process of devotional service. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam says that devotional service is ahetu ki apartehata, unmotivated and uninterrupted. When a devotee offers devotional service to the Lord without any motive, abhyalisita sunayam, his service cannot be hampered by any material condition. Aparati hata. Thus, a devotee who offers service in all conditions of life can conquer the Supreme Personality of God. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jinaji?
A special distinction between devotees and the other transcendentalists, namely the Jnanis and Yogis, is that Jnanis and Yogis artificially try to become one with the Supreme, whereas devotees never aspire for such an impossible accomplishment. Devotees know that their position is to be eternally servants of the Supreme Lord and never to be one with Him. Therefore, they are called Sammati or Jitatma. They detest oneness with the Supreme. They have no lusty desires for oneness. Instead, their desire is to be freed from all material hankering. Therefore, they are called Nishkam, which is desireless. A living entity cannot exist without desires, but desires that can never be fulfilled are called Kam, lusty desires. Kam is Thair, Rita, Jnana. Jnana. Because of lusty desires, non-devotees are deprived of their intelligence. Thus, they are unable to conquer the Supreme Lord, whereas devotees, being freed from such unreasonable desire, can conquer the Lord. Such devotees are also conquered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nisha?
Because they are pure, being free from all material desires, they fully surrender to the Supreme Lord, and therefore the Lord conquers them. Such devotees never aspire for liberation. They simply desire to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. Because they serve the Lord without desires of remuneration, they can conquer the mercy of the Lord. The Lord is by nature very merciful, and when he sees that his servant is working without desires for material profit, naturally he is conquered. Devotees are always engaged in service. Savai Manaha Krishna Padar Vindayara Vachasmi Vaikuntha Gunaruvarnadnane. All the activities of their senses are engaged in the service of the Lord. Because of such devotion, the Lord gives himself to his devotees as if they could use him for any purpose they might desire. Of course, devotees have no purpose other than to serve. When a devotee fully surrenders and has no aspiration for material profit, the Lord certainly gives him all opportunities for service. This is the position of the Lord when conquered by his devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so this is how beautifully the relation between a devotee and the Lord is given. So we are going to pause here, right? Maharaj Citraketu continue to do those prayers. I will read that again tomorrow, right, from here. And this, of course, is the week of Ram Lalla. So, yeah, we'll hear the Ramchandra Bhajan for 5 to 6 minutes.
रामचंद्र कृपालु भजुमन हरण भव भय दारुणम नव कंज लोचन कंज मुख कर कंज पग कंजारुणम कंदर्प अगणित अमित छवि नवनील नीरद सुंदरम पटपीत मानहु तड़ित रुचि सुचि नवमि जनक सुतावरम दीन बंधु दिनेश दानव दैत्य वंश निकंदनम रघुनंद आनंद कंद कौशल चंद दशरथ नंदनम सिर मुकुट कुंडल तिलक चारु उदारु अंग विभूषणम अजानुभुज शर चाप धर संग्राम जित खर दूषणम वदति तुलसीदास शंकर शेष मुनि मनरंजनम मम हृदय कुंज निवास कर कामादि खल दल गंजनम कृपालु भज मन हरण भव भय दारुणम नव कंज लोचन कंज मुख कर कंज पग कंजारुणम
Right, tonight Ram Stuti. I think this week that's what we are going to hear. Lord Ram Lala. Cool. So we'll continue tomorrow 9:30.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
everyone.
Krishna. Krishna.